The world does not run on headlines, it runs on people who care. I'm Peter Murphy-Lewis, and this is People Worth Caring About. Alongside my co-host, Jalene Carpenter, we sit down with the unsung heroes, caregivers, healers, helpers, the ones doing the real work, even when no one is watching. These conversations are not polished, they're personal, because behind every act of care is a story worth hearing. New episodes drop regularly. Get updates at peopleworthcaringabout.com.
This is People Worth Caring About. I'm your host, Peter Murphy-Lewis, and this is my co-host, Jalene Carpenter. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we are joined by Tracy Lichti, the CEO of New Cassel Retirement. She's a leader whose journey in the long-term care industry has spanned 2 decades?
Yeah.
1 decade? 3
2.
decades? Awesome.
Just 2. Not 3 yet.
Well, we hope we're going to keep you for 3 or 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to hear from Tracy about how the industry's evolved, the challenge that we're still facing. I want to hear some of her personal stories. You all know that that's my favorite, and some leadership. Tracy, it's an honor to have you here today, and I'm excited to hear your story.
Perfect. I'm excited to be here, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Well, and so Tracy, you and I are strangers. I'm
No.
privileged to be a co-host today, but I kind of feel like I'm the one that is going to enjoy this the most because I get to talk to you, who I have admired and appreciated for so long. And you and I met, it'll be 20 years ago next month.
It will be. I met Jalene right after I had my daughter, and she is 20. And so we've known each other and stayed connected through our industry for that entire time. So yeah, we've known each other a long time.
Long time. And I think one thing that has always stuck out to me is your ability to take action. And we worked together, but then there was a period of time where we were apart. But I'll never forget when you came back from ACA Future Leaders and you were told, we're supposed to do something with this. We're supposed to take action in our state. And you did. And you created this amazing leadership program that we have today. So can you tell people, we try to give you credit for it, but I don't think we do a good enough job. How are you so good at taking action and not just sitting still?
I would say I was thinking about being with you guys today, and Jalene, you're exactly right. Sometimes if you bring a problem to one leader, they mull it over and they're not sure what to do. I view myself as different. And I want to say yes. I want to say yes if you want to ask me for a challenge, you want me to start something new and investigate how it would work. And that's kind of what the LEAD program was here in Nebraska. It was just like you said, I was a future leader back in 2014, 2015. And we were challenged. What are you going to do for your state? What are you going to do with this knowledge that you've gained as being a Nebraska selected future leader? And it was a topic that had been happening in our board meetings of how are we going to grow leaders in Nebraska? How are we going to grow folks that want to be part of the board of directors? They want to be part of the voice of what senior housing will be in the future. And I finally was we just have to take action. And so I know that the team at NHCA couldn't take care of that, and Nebraska Healthcare Association. But we as board members could do that on the outside. And so we put together a task force and asked other leaders to be involved. And now we're in our eighth class of leaders that have been committed, and folks that I've never met who are new and excited to be leaders. And so it's one of my favorite things that I was able to be part of, for sure.
Tracy, I have a follow-up question on that. What has been the biggest change since that program started, or the biggest evolution? And one could be something you're extremely proud of, and something could be really minuscule, but it had a big impact.
I think that the biggest impact, Peter, is just year after year, people are more comfortable. People are more comfortable speaking up. And I will say I was so proud this year when we were having elections to be on board members. And almost every single person that was running for a board position had already been a Nebraska LEAD member. So they had already done it. And likely they had also been a mentor to someone else to be in the program. Super proud of that. Something that I would say happened in my journey that is a test where I am today is we have how should I explain? At our convention, we have a little gathering for the Nebraska LEAD participants, and we get to talk about it and why it's important, and we're thankful that they're there. But one year, Phil Fogg, who was at that point the chair of ACA, was in attendance, and he said, "You need to run for the board at NCAL. Like, you should do that." And I'm like, "Oh, you're so full of it." So, but I just needed someone maybe to plant that seed. That's kind of how I am. And so then you have to say yes, just like I was talking about earlier. Like, so now I'm actually an NCAL board meeting member. So I'm super proud of that. But his vote of confidence, I suppose, came out of that program to be able to continue to grow.
I love hearing that, because to me that just goes to show it's so many little moments that start to lead to your bigger success. But I want to back up, okay, Peter, because I said I met Tracy Lichti 20 years ago, but we introduced her as the CEO of Cassel Retirement Centers, which we can talk a little bit about. But that's not how you started, Tracy. I mean,
Of course.
where did you, like when people might think, oh my gosh, I'll never
Obtain
reach
that.
that level. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always tell this story in the briefest fashion to the new people who work for me. And because I want to tell them that same message that you just mentioned, Jalene. Like, I want to tell them that you can just start in one spot in long-term care and you can just grow. As long as you want to work hard and continue to learn, you can do whatever. So my actual education is in food service management. That actually is my bachelor's degree. And I started as a dining director in a skilled nursing facility. That's the same facility I met Jalene at. And I just felt it was, one of my favorite things is, number one, I love to have a great party. I love to see people happy and serving them food that they enjoy and that they like. It was powerful for me. And when I was younger, and I will attest that I'm the lady that was the dining director, but I knew every vegetable you liked, everything you like to drink, everything about you, all 100+ people that lived there, because it was important to me. And so while I worked there with a really strong leadership team, again, someone planted the seed. I think you should be an administrator. I think you should consider it. And so while working as a dining director, I went back and took courses to be a long-term care administrator. And actually even did my preceptor and all my training right there at that same facility while being a dining director. And I then got my very first position as an executive director. I was the 7th administrator in the 5 years that building had been open. And so I was put in a place where I had to succeed. I had a really strong interview with 3 different phases. Even a gentleman that was part of the CIA was interviewing me. And I'm like, they had to get it right. And I'm like, how are you getting it right with someone who's never done this? But I then worked there for 10 years and built a community that had no reputation to having a reputation of being great. And so I think I've only worked 3 places too as an administrator. And I think that can be, it's good for us. It's good for you to build a team, to see it to succeed, and then use your connections to continue to grow. And that's what happened to me next. I got to actually open a brand new building. I got to move in every resident in a building. I got to hire every single employee and just build the culture of a brand new building. Huge success. It filled from 0 to 100% occupied in 8 months. That's not normal on a fill up. So I've been told. And so just building a really strong team. And then I've been at Cassel now for 6 years. The person prior to me kind of recruited me, like that people they want to pick someone who's going to do the right thing. But when they walk away, and she was moving out of state and couldn't continue to work here. So I've gotten to be here for the last 6 years, and I feel it's my honor
Jalene,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw both of you a curveball since you took this conversation back 20 years. I'm going to take it back 30 years. Tracy, what would you say if I would have told you 30 years ago, you're going to be in long-term care, you're going to be an executive, you're going to be a
Mhm.
CEO, you're going to be in a documentary, you're going to be a board member. Is there a chance this was in your plans for life?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I went to school thinking I was going to own my own catering business and I was going to be planning people's weddings and having big parties. Like, that's really what I thought I was going to school for. And I, the first job I had in long-term care, I'm like, oh, these are my people. Like, these are who I have to take care of. So, um, yeah, 30 years ago, absolutely not.
You want me to answer too, Peter? Because I'm going to turn it back on you too. Like you're going to have to answer the question as well.
Go ahead.
But 30 years ago, no, I'll never forget. I would have been like right early, not quite to high school, and we had to take an aptitude test. And my aptitude test indicated that I would make a great police officer. And I didn't quite agree with that, but no, I didn't ever expect to be.
Is it because you're bossy or because you follow the rules?
Probably a combination of both. I have no idea why. But Peter, you didn't expect to be sitting here.
No, I mean, I'm 44, so if I would have, at 14, I thought I was probably going to be a banker. My father, my dad, my grandmother, my mom were bankers. And if I weren't going to be a banker, probably something in criminal justice. And I ended up studying sociology, which is not too far from criminal justice. And then I studied political science, which is not that far. But coming back to kind of being a creative type, it wasn't, as far as I know, in my DNA. So I didn't think I would be on TV or doing podcasts or documentaries. No.
I love it.
So Tracy, you said something that really clicked with me. You said it multiple times that somebody planted a seed. Somebody planted this seed in your head. And I guess I would ask the question, do you feel like you've planted some seeds?
Oh, I sure hope so. I would say that's probably my own personal mission statement, is to leave a legacy. And that goes back to planting that seed, like encouraging someone that they should do something, encouraging them to grow and learn, to be part of Nebraska LEAD, be involved in the committee, whether it's to be an administrator. I've had the opportunity to have interns that have come through my doors, many of them, and I hope I've planted some sort of seed to make them feel successful for their future. Honestly, that's what I want. That if I weren't able to do that, I think that I wouldn't feel comfortable working in this environment any longer. We met a gentleman at one of our conventions, and he wanted to know, what's your personal mission statement? And lots of people already knew theirs. Like, they wrote it down, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what mine is. And this was probably about 3 years ago. And then I saw him a second time at a national convention, and I'm like, now I know what it is. Like, it took me about 6 months to decide what it really was. And so when I say it, I don't mean it to be boastful. That's why I tell my team, like, I want to leave a legacy. Like, I want to make sure that the people behind me can grow and do the same thing we've been able to do to serve seniors, and not just in the same way, always trying to think forward and move and do better for what we care, how we care for them.
The thing that I want to ask you about is kind of challenging moments. I would assume that most people who aren't in long-term care would think one of the hardest things for you in the last 2 decades is probably someone passing, but they don't realize that can happen 3 times a week or 5 times a week. What's one of the most challenging moments that you've had in your career?
I can think of 2. There's Doris, and I won't ever forget her, because when I was very first an administrator, she was alone. And the building I worked at there were a lot of people who were alone. They didn't have family connection that would be there regularly. And so I took her in. Like, she was a Navy. She was in the Navy. She swore like she was in the Navy. She was sassy. That's my favorite kind of people. She'd literally sit in my office all day and have a hot dog at lunch in my office and read the paper. I even at one point took her to my home and I was like, you have to watch my kids play. She literally just sat in the driveway and watched my kids ride bikes. But the bad part is when Doris had to pass away, like when that journey between the two of us ended, I was like, oh gosh, this is too hard. But I remember going to where she was in the skilled nursing when she was on hospice and like just crying with her and her saying, I'm going to be okay, Tracy, you can let me go. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can let you go. And so, that's almost 20 years ago, Peter, that person, I still envision her. I still have her wallet at home. I still have like all these little things, but I think you learn from that. Like you can have a great relationship with them and they can be endearing to you. But we have to shift our mindset a bit.
Before you mention the second story, I have a question around Doris. Doris? Is Doris, right?
Yep.
I often find that we create relationships with people that we didn't know beforehand, sometimes as a way of projecting or remedying a previous relationship of someone that wish we'd had that connection with. Is that true with Doris or your second story?
I don't think so. I mean, I have a really great family, and I have my relationship I have with my grandparents, amazing, like amazing. And I think that one of the reasons that I do what I do for sure is they were the rocks in my, my family for me. So I think it's just because she was sassy and she was a little naughty. And I love that when residents are that way. And I'm drawn to them. I'm drawn to them when they're a little sassy. And that fits right into Mary Lou, who lived here at Newcastle with us. And we lost her during COVID. And same thing, sassy and drank scotch before bed. And if she didn't have it, Tracy would go buy it because I need it. Da, da, da. So you would do those things for her. And she also was on hospice and she was here. She was able to stay here. But like letting go of like the last voicemail she left me on my phone, which was, thank you for my hospital bed that you got me. I didn't get it for her, but she thought I did. And so she's leaving me that message. The hospice nurse got it for her. And then she's like, and I love you and I will always love you. And like, you can't delete it. I don't know what else to say. Like, you cannot delete that message because she was so wonderful. Like, I just enjoyed spending time with her and just go sit in her apartment and just not even talk about work, talk about her or whatever she enjoyed doing. So, yeah.
Does that mean you can't change cell phone carriers either because you might lose the voicemail?
I might lose her. Yeah,
you're like stuck
cannot.
with AT&T or I don't know Bell that hasn't been around for 50.
Whatever. Like she's got to come along because I don't think people always understand that in this world. Like we do really get to know them and sometimes we have to change our mindset. Like I have had to do that to the point where my goal isn't that they're going to be with me for a long time, but while they're here with me, I want them to have the very best. I want them to have the best care, the best experiences, the best quality of life, and make their last days the absolute best that they can be. Yeah.
Like listening to you and having been somebody who's worked in this industry, but just listening to you, you've almost brought me to tears twice in the last 3 minutes. And it just feels like so much of yourself is given to your work. How do you manage? You said you just had your second child when we met. And
yeah.
Like, how do you manage when you just described to me is like, you've just given your whole heart to these people. Yeah. How do you have room for the rest of life?
I'll quickly reflect back to when I was a dining director and I was not young when I had children. I waited a while and my teenagers in my department was like, when are you having children? I'm like, you're all my children, all of you teenagers. I got to take care of all of you. I'm going to attest that, first of all, my spouse, he is amazing. He is one of the main factors that I'm successful in what I've done. He supports, whether it's helping our children or whether it was, there were times probably in my career that he cared for them more than I did. And that's just being honest. I'm thankful that my parents lived really close to me and they were always willing to be part of the equation to care for my children if I couldn't. And second, my kids became part of working here. If there was an event happening, they knew they had to work it. Like they had to volunteer, whether it was just pushing residents in their wheelchair to get to the event, like whatever it was. And they had to be there and had to be helpful. So yeah, I think you just have to know that it matters. My first person that hired me as an administrator is Jan Thayer. In Nebraska, she started, really showcasing assisted living nationally, and I was able to work for her. And I can remember one time when I'm a brand new administrator. My son is 3.5. I come home from a long day and he's standing in the garage. He's waiting for me. And his question to me was, Mom, I didn't think you were ever coming home today. And I'm like, oh, just break my heart in half, right? Like literally break it in half. And yet he'd been home with his dad the entire day. Like he wasn't even at childcare. He was home with his dad. But we talked about that, she and I, because she was a mom and she was a leader and she was well respected as a leader. And she goes, you need to remember that you're taking care of people. You have an important job. No one else gets to do that. And your children will have benefits that no other children will have. They will have things that they won't have. And I'm like, what is she talking about? And at first you're like thinking, what, money, right? Like I'm going to make a higher wage maybe than someone else that's working at a skilled nursing facility or assisted living. And that was not it. And now reflecting back, it is that my kids will know what it means to take care of other people and that to be kind to others and respectful, even if they have a disability. My son, who's 23, he has the most amazing relationship with my parents, his grandparents. They will call him if they need something before they call me. And I'm like, Mom, why do you do that? She goes, oh, we just have a special thing. Like he's ours. I'm like, okay. I just want to make sure you're getting what you need. But he will literally go mow their lawn, eat dinner with them, connect with them regularly. Even though he's the same kid that before would have said, Mom, why do you talk to the old people at the grocery store? But now he's good. I have a 20-year-old daughter who wants to be a physical therapist to take care of our people, were her word. And I'm like, what are you talking? Our people, Kate. Because she works in the dining room at the assisted living by her home. And she goes, no, Mom, I'm talking about our people. Like my old people, our people. And I'm like, go for it, kid. I'll figure it out. I'll help you get through school, whatever you need to do so you can take care of our people. But that's what I really believe Jan was talking about when she said those words so long ago.
Tracy, tell me about the process of working in the documentary. We haven't talked about this after you and I filmed together almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. 6 months ago, the three of us were in a theater and we got to see it on the big screen with 200, 300 of Nebraska's finest. But you and I haven't spoken since. What's the feedback you've received from your residents, from the families, from your staff, from your community?
Well, first of all, that night of the red carpet event premiere, all I could think of as I drove home is like how proud. That's the only word that could come back. It kept coming back in. I'm just so proud, number one, of our industry for showing what we really do. Number two, of course, I was so proud of the ladies that were in our specific documentary. I'm just so proud of how they shined. Like they just told their story, and I was so excited for them. And they've gotten such a great elevation from our team here that they told that story. I've been able to now go speak in front of like so many kids in this organization called HOSA. It's like the healthcare education side of things instead of like future farmers. It's like a club. They have officers and all these kids, and there was 700 kids attending this HOSA event this year, and I got to go see some of them and talk about the docuseries and show them some of the sessions. And so just being so proud of it that way. I have some educators on my board of directors at our local university here, University of Nebraska at Omaha, and they automatically picked it up to start showing it in their classrooms and their gerontology and aging classes, and like immediately just were like, I'll do it right now, just send it to me. And there was no ask needed. They just were going to do it. Even as recent as last week, we had our volunteer appreciation for any volunteer that comes to Newcastle regularly. There were about 30 to 40 folks in the room, and I handed out all the cards so they could go watch the docuseries. And remember, Newcastle's episode 6, go ahead and watch it. And they all left. The high schoolers left with their cards. The volunteers that have been coming here for years. And one of the volunteers, Jane, she emailed me like the next day, and she goes, I had to watch it twice. I was so proud of what you do there, and I enjoyed it so much. I had to watch 2 times in a row. And so even just last week, getting that positive feedback about what we do here, what we do overall in our industry, I'm super excited. I'm on the board for NCAL with a gentleman from New Mexico, and he even reached out and he's like, now tell me about this. Tell me how this worked, and was it worth it for your community to be involved? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, Gerald, do not hesitate. Like, move forward. And so I'm excited for you too, Peter, that it's not just Nebraska going to tell their story now. Like, it's going to grow, and the whole process will. I'm only hopeful, and I like to live in that positive land. Things are always going to be better, but that our message is going to get stronger. It's just going to keep getting stronger the more you do this.
Sorry, Peter, I'm going to take the liberty of 2 questions. One, you shared with me the story of the first time you showed it to your board of directors.
Oh, yeah.
Will you share sort of?
Yeah.
That was the most eye-opening for me of what impact this can have.
Yeah. So, and annually we have a board of directors at Newcastle, and then we have a fundraising side of Newcastle. So there's a board of trustees, and once a year they're collectively together. And so we did show the docuseries, our session, to the entire board party. So that high professionals, people working in our hospital association, lawyers, physicians, all of that are part of it. And at first they're like, oh, this is just some ho-hum. Then they were watching it and they were like, they were tearful. They were proud. They were just telling me where else I could show it and talk about it. And they just couldn't believe all those things that Newcastle does. And they don't know the staff like we know the staff, but that story told them all the good things that we do here. So super proud. We're going to actually show our episode again at our annual fundraiser in October. So we're going to show it again to all of our donors. So people who choose to support us financially. So we'll keep that story going. What I tell my team, Peter, is I'm going to ride that story till it ends. Like, I'm going to use it in any way I can for our industry, for our facility, whatever it might be.
And you said something out there for Peter. You asked about this experience with the podcast. Tracy, you said, I was so excited that we finally decided to show our real story. Why do you? I mean, I guess unpack that a little bit for me. What do you mean that we showed our real story, and why have we never? Why do you feel like we've never shared the real story of long-term care?
Why we never showed the whole story? I think maybe we didn't have the platform to do it. A lot of times a community could have never embarked on such an expense to do something like this either, like one standalone facility. And I think it takes a collective voice to make any movement. Newcastle, you can do one little video, but this is a collective voice that is pushing forward a message. I think the public, if you've never had anyone ever live in a community, you have no idea. You have no idea what it really means for people to love your loved one, to become their caregiver, to allow you to become their daughter or their son again. Like, I don't believe people really realize how hard it is to be a caregiver. And I have amazing staff here that's their niche. They love to be that. And so showcasing that on a docuseries, a documentary, anything of that nature, shows that we love them. Like, we do love them. And I feel like a lot of facilities do so many amazing things and no one ever knows it happens. And that this opportunity lets us change that narrative, lets us change that message.
That makes me think of words that I heard from a caregiver, and she said that very few jobs in the United States do you get the opportunity to be the best moment in that person's day every single day. And she said, I have the opportunity to do it with 10 to 25 people every single day.
Yeah. It's so true, right? They're your neighborhood. They're your little community that you're going to take care of today. I'm going to take care of these individuals that I might feel like I should treat them like my grandparent or my mom or my dad. And I'm just going to give them all the good I got in me today. But they can be challenging too, Peter. Some folks are harder to care for. And I mean, even going clear back to my dining days, like this is the first one. I'm going to give you a quick little example. Her name was Nell. She didn't like the food and she never liked the food. Never, ever, ever. So I tried so many ways to help her and get her input and what would she like? And it was never good enough until the day that I sat down with her and said, I go, Nell, do you know that every day we come to work to give you our very best? We don't come to work being, we're going to make Nell this terrible meal because she's not going to like it, right? We're coming every day with the goal when we walk in the door to do the very best for you. And I don't think anyone ever spoke to her that way, I suppose. But she never complained again. Like, I think she needed to just hear that we wanted to make her happy every day. We wanted to be part of bringing the good in her day. And so the comment that you've heard, it's so on cue. Like, that's got to be your shift of your mindset when you work in an environment like this.
You, sorry, Peter. Good. Can I?
Good.
If not, you just said, you just say, Jalene, no, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't think you listened to no very well.
Me either. That's why we're friends.
That's why we're. You reminded me of a story that stuck with me when you and I worked together around, like, one of the reasons I love this industry, and that is the idea that we can give people at any stage of their life purpose, but also why it can be a reason why I got driven to advocacy. So I want to see if you remember this person. There was a resident. She was a lady. She had 2 jobs that she loved. She would sit at the front door and push the handicap button to open the door for everybody. And she also would clear the tables after every meal. Do you remember that?
Are we talking about Selma?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, sorry, go ahead.
She just had to have a purpose. You're exactly right. Like, she had a handicap that was more lifelong, Peter. And so she had to have a reason to get up, to get going for the day. And her routine to be successful for the day. It was pretty meticulous, if I remember correctly, Jalene. Like, pretty meticulous to make her comfortable and able to do those purposeful jobs. And so, absolutely, she was the greeter. She would open the door, but she would also speak with everyone who came in. And she also in the dining room, her and one of the dining staff workers, Charlotte, were like good friends, like really good friends. And not before they met each other in that environment, but they became such great friends. And so then her second job that Jalene speaks of was helping Charlotte in the dining room and bussing tables or clearing glasses or whatever it meant, so that she felt purposeful in her everyday. Her cognition was on point. It was her physical abilities that made her that is why she had to live with us, I guess. I don't want to say that made her, but that is why she needed our care, is her physical, disabilities. So yeah, I remember her. I can definitely remember her.
What you might not remember is there was a point, and you might have already left, but there was a point where, based on regulations and, what was, quote, infection prevention and safe for people, they took away her ability to clear the tables because it was safety, whatever. And I still, when I advocate for a resident, that sticks in my head. Like, don't you dare take away the purpose of these people in the name of safety. And I think you probably lived through that in COVID. I mean,
I did.
COVID was that, like, it was like all in the name of safety. But I don't know if you have something that sparks for you of like how that sort of passion for advocacy comes out when you think about. That sticks for me. I'll never forget that. And why we need to protect.
We always need to protect that for them. Like, we have to be their voice. We have to be their voice of what their needs are, and that they can still do as much as possible. I think back to, you mentioned COVID. So super challenging, right? Like, there's so many safety rules, so many, but it's immediately when they said, you could do outside visits, like, I'm going to make that happen. Like, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to figure it out. We actually shifted staff from one area that wasn't as busy, which was our adult day center we have here, because there was a restriction on how many people could be in one environment, to that there was their only job, was to sign up families so that they could connect with their loved ones, do the screening before they could be there, and supervise the meeting so that quote unquote 6-foot barrier wasn't crossed, or whatever you want to say. And so making sure you did absolutely everything almost to the edge of what you shouldn't be doing, but making sure they could connect with their family and their loved ones. I remember even during that, like, they were like, you can't have inside visits yet. Well, we fixed the garage. Like, we had a garage that there's probably still technically an inside visit, but it was in the garage with a heater and 2 chairs. So they booked them. They made sure that they could be with families. Sometimes families would still complain, but, my local ombudsman, she's like, you're doing more than anyone else because you're pushing the envelope, right? To make sure that they get their rights respected and carried out as much as we can, even with risk or infection control disease stuff. But
Tracy, as we start to wrap up, I want to dive into something about your life, about your day, about your routine when the cameras aren't on, when people aren't around. One of the books that I really appreciate is called Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And he does, it's like 1 or 2 pages per person. And he goes through small things in their day that makes them more successful at what they do. What's something that you do in your day that is unique? Maybe the way that you write down notes. Maybe it's the way that you listen and you process information. Maybe it's the way you ask follow-up questions. What is it that makes you uniquely special and good at your leadership role?
I think I'm going to say, well, first of all, I'd say joke what your love language is. My love language is giving other people gifts. That's my love language. And so I would say what I am proud of is being a really solid listener and listening about what their concern is, that, like, what's the backside of something, like the unspoken things that they say, and then, like, fulfill it. For example, a couple weeks ago, my housekeeping director comes to my office, and I have this big thing of candy that you can pick from if you're doing a great job. It's just, can I just have that? Because it's dummies, and they're my favorite. I'm like, yeah, take it, have it. no big deal. And so then 2 days later, I'm at the store and there's this package that says world's greatest gummies. I'm like, what? I don't know if they are. But Kelly, my housekeeping director, she's going to know if they are. So, buying those, bringing those, giving them to her. And she had no expectation of that, right? And it was because of what she said was either her favorite or got her through that day, that she felt better about what she was doing and making sure you take a next step for them. I do that often. I try to do it very
What's the
often.
most unique gift that you can remember that you've surprised somebody with to show them you love them and appreciate them?
Love them. Yeah. For anybody, a gift
Anybody you can
for
think
anyone.
of that's kind of unique.
Mhm.
I'll let you. I'll share
Yeah,
mine while you think about yours.
Okay.
Mine was the book Regrets of the Dead and Dying. Somebody gifted me
Okay.
that book by a hospice nurse from Australia, probably 10 years ago. And so I received that. I didn't give that. And that changed my life in the way that I approach everything, relationships and time. And then the book the thing that I've gifted most of my life is actually the book you referenced, 5 Languages of Love.
Okay.
About 7 or 8 years ago, I bought 10 versions used off of Amazon and just put them on my bookshelf. And then when I met people who I knew that would help them, I just gifted it.
Gifted that. I love it. I don't think this is the best one, but I'm going to tell you it was maybe most impactful. Every year for my daughter's birthday, she is born February the 13th, so almost a Valentine's baby. I make these cookies. They're a big sugar cookie, and then you make another sugar cookie, and you cut the heart out of the middle, and then you put frosting between them. And then you make these sandwich cookies. She loves them. She's 20. She's had them every year, most of her life. But I'm telling this story, and the young lady that works at our front desk, our receptionist, she's like, oh, my mom would have made me frosting sandwiches. And my mom would have made me frosting sandwiches, like our graham crackers with frosting in the middle. And that was your snack. And so then I made all these for my daughter's birthday. I then bring her own bag of frosting sandwiches, of graham crackers and frosting. And you would have thought I had given her $1,000. I mean, I don't know. She was so surprised, happy. Like, why did you even think of me in this way kind of feeling? And it was graham crackers and frosting, right? And so when we gift to others, or when we allow our imagination to make them happy and do something simple, sometimes those are the most powerful, I think. But
Well,
yeah.
I can attest. So Tracy was actually my boss. She was our board chair. And so in my first year of this job, that first full year, Tracy was my boss. And on my anniversary, I don't know if you remember this, Tracy. Like, on my anniversary, it was just the simplest little gift. There were just these pink pencils that said "Girl Boss" on it. And for me, I'm like, okay, she thinks I'm doing a good job. Like everybody, we're feeling it. We're feeling good together. So I can attest, Tracy's an amazing gift giver.
I love doing that.
Yeah, I love it. Jalene, do you have anything else to ask? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up.
So Tracy, you know that Peter and I met at a conference.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for Peter and I to be like having conversations where we're dreaming big. I think every conversation Peter and I have ever had, somewhere in there is like this really big idea that I get excited about.
I love it.
But that's where people were caring about came from.
Mm-hmm.
And is there something in your head? Do you have a like wild idea or this big idea that you always think, well, if only, or what if?
Oh gosh. Jalene, that's kind of that's huge. Like, I can tell you what we're focused on, like at my building for maybe the future. And I would love to see it be more what we do holistically. And that is, we've gone from a facility always being the one making the decisions, right? And to person-centered care. So we take the residents' input of what they like, And then we develop their plan of care or their tasks that we do, all of those things, which we feel that gives them a voice. But we're challenging our team, and I don't know how it's going to work yet because it's so big and so kind of unknown, I feel. But how does it work when it is no longer just person-centered? And what happens when it becomes resident-driven? No longer facility-driven. Obviously, you have some regulations you have to work around, of course, but what if they're the ones that are really leading what we do here? And it doesn't just become person-centered, it becomes resident-driven. And so I think that is going to be huge if our team can figure that out for our building. Because we have the flexibility of being just one building and we can make changes if we want to make changes, I feel we could be successful in that. So I don't know what that makes you feel like, Jalene. I don't know. I haven't heard those terms very often, but that's what we keep coming back to when we're focusing on our next 5 years, where we want to be. So
I think we have a recurring guest for the podcast, Peter. Like there will be a follow-up.
I love the word driven. I love the word driven. I'm newish to the industry, but people-centered, I remember hearing people-centered care 5-ish years ago when I got into long-term care, and I didn't really understand it, but now I've heard it long enough, it's kind of the jargon and it starts to make sense. But when you present in the way that you did, Tracy, it seems like person-centered still is a little bit top-down, where resident-driven isn't. It's much more horizontal.
Correct. Because even now, okay, fine. I always use my example when I teach this person-centered care that I talk about when I teach other assisted living directors. This is like, okay, if you took care of me, like I don't want up at 8 a.m. I want up at 10 and I would like my shower before I go to bed. Can you do that? And they're like, no, we cannot do that because we don't have staff at that time to do that. Like those are just simple things, right? Where if it was resident driven, you're going to staff to 100% fit what your residents want. And they're going to drive their story. We had a resident come who in her career, she's in her 80s, that she came and spoke to us about how that would feel to her. And the other word that comes up a lot in this conversation for us is citizenship, like that they become the citizens of your community and they have some additional leadership role in it. And so, still very much to still be figured out, but you're right, Peter. It's still us making a lot of decisions right now and them not having as strong of a voice as they should.
Great. As I start to wrap up, I want to give you both thanks for joining, but I want to turn this theme into this interview as being something actionable. Jalene started off by saying, Tracy, you just get up and you do things. So I am going to ask you both, what is one thing that you want of a listener or a viewer of this episode to do afterwards? And I'll start to buy you both about 10 seconds. I want you to go watch Tracy's episode of Newcastle, of People Worth Caring About, and send it to somebody under the age of 25 who has a big heart, and see if you can talk them into coming into long-term care and make a difference. Whether they're in Nebraska or not, you can make a difference by sharing Tracy's team's story and taking care of America's seniors. Jalene, you're next, and we'll let Tracy wrap it up.
Yeah, from what Tracy said, I want the listeners to go plant a seed. Who do you need to go plant a seed in to succeed? And maybe even just revisit what seeds that have already been planted for you. And where do you need to invest some time to maybe take that next scary step?
I love that. I'm going to challenge everyone. It doesn't have to be your own personal mission statement, but it's similar to Jalene's, but like leave a legacy, help others grow, whether they work in your industry or they don't. Let them grow, let them increase their knowledge of what it means to take care of others. Spread a little kindness, little extra kindness, and inclusion. Like, don't forget the senior, don't forget their voice. And remember that they still get to make decisions for themselves.
Tracy, thank you. You are one of the reasons we did the documentary. You are one of those people worth caring about. Thank you for your
Oh,
time
thank
today,
you,
and thank you
Peter.
for your story. And I look forward to
Absolutely.
seeing you in August.
Okay, I'll see you then. Thanks,
Bye, guys.
guys. Bye, Jalene.
That's a wrap on People Worth Caring About, born from the documentary Built to Keep the Stories Going. Shout out to Nebraska Healthcare Association and Jalene Carpenter for helping launch it, and to Ohio and New Mexico for making future seasons real. Watch the docuseries online or at peopleworthcaringabout.com. And if this episode meant something to you, leave a review. It matters. Take care of yourself and the people worth caring about.